Hello and welcome to the IdeaCast interview series, episode number 85. My guest in this episode is Rachel Blanding. And Rachel is a recent graduate of UNC Charlotte, and she majored in computer science and psychology, and her computer science major was focused in data science. And as of this recording, she will be entering into postgrad studies in computer science and continuing her education. What I found really amazing about Rachel is not only is she an accomplished student in academia and pursuing an advanced degree in computer science, but she's also a very talented woodcrafts person and also multi-discipline in wood and metal arts, and we discussed that in this conversation. She's also a musical person, so I'm speaking with a polymath here as far as I'm concerned. I was very impressed with her ambition and her talent, and it was an honor to speak with her. It's always a privilege to speak with someone who is obviously talented and intelligent, and that's something I love to share with my program. So please enjoy this conversation with Rachel. I know I did. Thank you. And I'd like to welcome Rachel Blanding to the IdeaCast interview series. I'm looking forward to Rachel and I having a discussion about creativity. And I thought about this, Rachel, when I was thinking of our conversation, and you're doing, and this is a metaphor here, you're doing kind of analog work in a digital world. Like we're in 2023 when we're recording this. A lot of people, all age spectrums, are doing stuff online, and there's computers. You're doing really hands-on, and I would call that analog, just as a sort of a metaphor, I guess, for the contrast between what a lot of people are doing and what you're doing. So that's a little
Yeah.
teaser for the audience. But yeah, I want to break into that. So YouTube audience, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us for this conversation. It's about creativity and just using that inherent nature of creativity. And Rachel's going to tell us about that and what she's done. So Rachel, I think the best thing to do is, and again, welcome. The best thing to do is perhaps start with a little background and get the audience on board with where you're coming from and what brought you to where you are. And then I want to unpack the work that you're doing, the creative work, and then how you help others do that work. So I'll hush up and get you to share with us a little bit.
Yeah, so with my background, I kind of do a lot of things all together. Right now I'm in school. I go to UNC Charlotte, or the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. I major in computer science and psychology. I just graduated May of 2023, which was like last month. Yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah, it doesn't really it doesn't feel any different because I'm going to grad school
Mm,
for computer science. But some of the stuff that I do is I have a woodworking blog, and I've also been woodworking for about 3 years. I feel like I started in, honestly, it may have been longer than that, probably closer to 4 years, because I started in 2019 during the beginning of the COVID pandemic. And other than that, I also, well, yeah, I guess I could just say I do woodworking. I do work with like other materials occasionally, like epoxy and cement and a little bit of like metal, like welding. Not a little bit of welding. Um, Other than that, I didn't go to school for woodworking. Everything that I've done was self-taught. I use like internet resources, so like YouTube, other blogs, and basically like with the blog in particular, I just talk about my experience and the stuff that I've learned along the ways, even though it's not really like professional, even though I didn't really go to school for it, I wouldn't call myself a professional in the field. It's just something that I've learned over my years with woodworking. And I do different designs. It takes a little bit of creativity to kind of come up with your own plans and stuff. So I guess that's just me in a nutshell.
Well, that's a good nutshell. It's a good place to start. Now, what I may do is just push a little bit more on checking in with like you as a child, you as an early teenager,
Mhm.
before you got into, say, even high school. Did you
Yeah.
see glimmers of this on the horizon? Like, were you curious about playing with medium art medium, not necessarily woodworking, but could you see your path developing from that early part of your life to
Yeah,
where you are now?
actually, I could. Another thing, I I'm a piano instructor. I've been playing the piano for about 13 years, so that's like another form of art, I would say.
Hmm.
And then also, whenever I was in elementary school, I was in like the robotics club, so I did more hands-on stuff than like some other people, I would say. I'm kind of I'm more inclined to hands-on work, hands-on learning. So I kind of saw like the connect. I would have never thought woodworking out of all things
Yeah.
growing up. But yeah, I kind of have had other hobbies to where I could kind of make that connection.
Okay. Okay. Now, in our pre-meet, you and I talked, and then you laid out some really nice questions or topics that we can talk about. And one of those was the creative process. And you did bring up the piano and the music, and then we're talking about woodwork as well. And in both cases, one thing that fascinates me about art, and I'm no good at art, but that a person like yourself can take something ostensibly out of thin air, just out of your imaginal process that you have, and then it can become either something on a sheet of paper as music and notes and a composition, or the composition of woodcraft. And so, can you, for your perspective, share what that is, what that process is that you go through, or what the relationship is with you and, say, music and woodcraft?
Okay. I could talk about the process in particular to woodworking, and then I could talk about the process with like piano playing, and then kind of how that intertwines. So with woodworking, what I do is I kind of get like a little bit of inspiration online. I wouldn't necessarily say my art and design from scratch is the best. I almost always get inspiration because I find the stuff that other people come up with and the stuff that I see on the internet, it like gives me ideas that I probably would not have thought of if I were to just like have myself in a box and say like, okay, I need to come up with a design. And then with that, I look at some of the like technical like limitations that I may have. So like size, dimension, uh where the piece of furniture or where the item will be placed, some other stuff to where like if I have a design in mind, I may not be able to use that specific design because in the real world it wouldn't work how I would want it to work. And then after that, I see what is on the internet and what I want be and then I will kind of try to bridge that connection between the two because a lot of the time there is something that you may like, or for me, I guess I'm a
Mhm.
little bit more picky. There's something that I like that I would like, but it could be changed in a slight way that I may be able to use it a little bit easier, or it may be more usable for me. And then also I used to make projects or items out of wood, furniture, art for other customers, for other clients, and it's essentially the same process. I will ask them questions um, and try to bridge in that gap between the idea and how the user is going to use it, because a lot of the time the person may not really know what they want,
Mm. Okay.
so trying to get it out of them, even though they don't even know what they want, but like just ask the right questions to really make something that the person is going to use and the person's going to love.
Nice.
And then with playing the piano, it's pretty similar. I still get a lot of inspiration from like other songs that I know, different chord progressions, like rhythm, tempo, and then it's almost the same process. I will just play around. Honestly, I'll just because I've been playing for a little while, so I know certain chords. Play around, see what sounds nice. Sometimes I will hit the wrong chord and it sounds nice, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna run with that and
Right.
go from there.
Right. Yeah, you kind of almost know when your ears get trained. And again, I don't know music. I bash around this poor synthesizer of mine, and I I make
Oh, that's nice.
sounds. Yeah, I make sounds, but it's like I'm so primitive and simple. But with a synthesizer, you can get away with that because you don't have to have musical talent to get something like you said. If you hear a structure emerging in maybe a chord pattern, or you're fiddling around with some of the major keys and you're going back and forth, and out of that, that's all I need to be able to just generate something that I like, that just makes me happy. And so, but again, I have
Yeah.
zero musical talent. So thank goodness for synthesizers. And I also have the software. I think I have FL Studio, Fruity Loop Studio, and there's a ton of plugins and a ton of virtual synths and all these fancy reverbs and stuff. So it's like
Yeah.
you can put a lot of makeup on that pig that I'm generating, make it look really cute. And I like it. So but it's teaching me things. And so I'm eventually maybe going to arc around to actually understanding some basics about composition and structure and how chords can move together and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, not to take away from what you were talking about, but it's like I'm inspired by people like you that do know the language and the timing and things like that. So hats off to that big creative process and what you do, because that's just so awesome.
And that's another thing that I like as well. With making something for yourself is you just have to like it. Other people may not like it, but if it's something that you really enjoy and something that you really like, you can
Yeah,
do it. Yeah.
amen.
And it's slightly different if you like make music for other people. Then it's like you kind of have to make music that other people like. But if you're just doing it for yourself, if you're just making art for yourself, as long as you like it, it's fine.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So when you do your own compositions, do you publish that? Is that something that's available for people to listen to, or do you kind of keep that close?
I was I haven't published anything yet.
Okay.
I actually just made a composition like I think 3 or 4 days ago. It's not a really long song, but it's like a couple minutes. But I was thinking about publishing it. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh no, that takes
Yeah.
courage. That takes courage.
Yeah, like
Like,
I can play a song that's like already written and publish that fine. But it's just like it's almost like it's kind of like my baby. And it's like if I
mm,
publish it for other people, I mean I know I'm gonna get criticized. That it is what it is, but
yeah.
we'll see.
Oh yeah. No, you have to pace yourself with that because really you're laying yourself bare and you're very vulnerable with that. And I can
Yeah.
appreciate that. The stuff that I plot out on my thing, I actually do upload it to YouTube, and I have this little thing, a little project on the side. And so far, everybody's been very gracious about it, and I've not had any. And I would actually like criticism, like somebody says, "Oh, this really sucks," and it's dissonant, or it's because what I do is I just call them drones, and they're just long sound, like 30-minute soundscapes. And again, there's some repetition, but I try to break things up a little bit. And so far, the people that do listen to it have been kind, and so that's nice. And but for me, it's neat just to say I did that, and just to get it out there.
Yeah.
And if the day comes and when the day comes, then that's good. That's good, because I know people are going to hate that type of genre perhaps, and they'll just come in and say, what the hell is this? And there's so many better people out, and the quality,
And
like,
that's the thing
yeah,
too. There are a lot of people who
people
are
with
just
talent. Yeah. Yeah.
well over
Well,
what I can do.
you have talent, but I have no talent. So it's like I'm even more vulnerable because like or at least I'm like cool with it, because if somebody says you really suck and I'm like, well, duh, I don't know anything. I'm just plodding along. But I have the audacity to go ahead and be vulnerable and put it out for public consumption. And hey, if people like it, that's great. If not, it's as you said a moment ago, it's what makes me happy. And, I'll just take the lumps. If somebody doesn't like it, that's fine. No big deal. So anyway, but not to take away from your creativity, because we're not here to talk about my silly things that I do. Now, I will encourage you. I will say this, please, yeah, consider in the future that you put yourself out there and release some musical compositions, and you could even do it unlisted and share it with people. I think maybe that's the first little baby step that you could do to get out. And I just can't help but think that you're going to I don't know what your response to that would be, but maybe that would be a positive thing. Maybe you would feel good about it. I don't know. I can't predict, but try it and see and experiment. And again, just share it amongst folks that are, in good territory, in a good place where they're not going to be like, Rachel, yeah, what are you doing? They'll be like, oh my God, I love it. Including me. If you send me something, now let me ask you this. I do want to get back to woodworking because I have a couple of questions, but we'll stay on the music thing. When maybe two points to two questions within a question, like what music and genre do you like, and what do you tend to lean to when it comes to your participation in creation of music or just playing other music? And also, what would you like to create? What would be your finished product? And does it fit within a genre? Would it fit within
Yeah,
something?
I would say with my background in piano is definitely classical music,
Okay.
and the I learned most of my songs through sheet music.
Okay.
That's the easiest way for me to learn. That's how I learn. I would say 90% of my songs. Sometimes if I've kind of gotten into improv over the past year and a half. That's the song that I was telling you before, the one that I made over the weekend.
Mm,
And then also, if there is a song that I like online, I will kind of do an arrangement of that. So that one isn't going to be completely from scratch. It will be a song that's already created by an artist, and I will just kind of make a piano version out of it.
okay.
The genre of music that I like, or the genre of music that I play, is mainly classical. I did get into playing like a lot of anime soundtracks,
Oh, neat.
and then yeah,
Neat.
and then jazz, blues,
Okay.
popular songs, just regular popular songs.
Okay. Okay. Now, if I could be really nosy, what kind of classical? So there's different periods. There's Baroque and Romantic, and then the new stuff that's like maybe late 19th, early 20th century.
Yeah.
So where are you on that spectrum with classical music?
Um, I honestly don't know what the time frame. I know my like favorite composers. I'm really gonna mess up the names.
Oh, that's
Figure it
okay. Go for it.
out.
We're all friends here. And if anybody trolls you,
Yeah,
I'm gonna be mean to them. So
yeah.
I'm
So
feisty. So so you're safe
so
with me, Rachel.
I really like Liszt,
Okay.
Chopin, Beethoven, Bach.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really sure what era that is, or if they're in different
Yeah.
eras.
Yeah.
They probably
Yeah, Liszt and Chopin would, and I'm probably going to get it wrong too, but probably like mid 19th century, so like mid romantic maybe. And
are.
somebody out there, if there's a good faith person out there that can set both of us straight and do it nicely, please, by all means. But
Look
yeah,
it
and
up
then
real quick.
yeah, right. And then so Bach and them would be back more like with a crossover between Baroque and early Romantic, because those are the guys that I get into, is like Vivaldi, Paganini.
Yeah.
Yeah, those guys. I love Bach. Bach is nice, but oh, Haydn, Franz Joseph Haydn. I love his work too. But they're all like late 18th, mid to late 18th century guys, and that's when where we're getting into the early Romantic, and so there's late Baroque stuff that's good too. But yeah, so Chopin is
You probably
uh,
said it right.
yeah, I think it's Chopin, not instead of
It
Chopin,
is?
but I think it's Chopin, but I don't know. Again, the folks could correct. Now, did Chopin do waltzes? Was he a waltz person? I don't
Yes.
remember. Okay.
Yes, he has, I believe so.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's good. Like, I like waltzes.
Yeah.
There's that's just got a vibe to it, a cadence to it that's really nice. And you can just imagine, even if it's not in the 19th century, people just dancing and having a good time with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much energy that comes out of whatever period of classical music. Now I can't get into like the 20th century stuff where it's really experimental and it's like bleep honk boop beep, that kind of stuff. I've listened to some of those guys. One of the rock people that I like is Frank Zappa, and he liked it was Boris or something. It was a French composer, and his music is definitely an acquired taste. I'll send you a clip sometime, but it's like
Okay.
people sit and they like they'll spin things and just these really dissonant sound structures, just weird and like just it's just so discordant or dissonant. It's bizarre, but I guess and again, I like Zappa's music, so I'm trying to see the sort of the architecture where he came from, what formed him. And so anyway, but yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff that qualifies as classical music, that's for sure.
Mhm.
So have you ventured into other instruments, or are you a piano person?
I also play the drums.
Ooh,
Um,
cool.
and then I kind of just started getting into the guitar.
Oh,
I
neat.
I just got like a hollow body. What is it called? Epiphone or whatever. I'm
Okay.
no good, but I'm learning.
Oh, that's so cool. I bought it. My wife and I bought a guitar years ago, and it just sat there. So we gave it to a nephew of ours. I felt horrible because I've always wanted to learn the guitar, but maybe one day I'll grab another one and
Yeah.
boing, just start plucking away. And nobody else will have to hear it but me. But oh gosh, to me that would be just as so satisfying, like learning a new language. To be able to express something with again, that's the beauty of me starting out on the keys is I can at least learn my notes and keys and working with that has my beats per minute and things like that, so I can learn to appreciate some of those real basic things. And then if I'm inclined, I'll go further than that. But yeah, another instrument. And you mentioned drums, and I love drumming and percussion. So I've fantasized about getting the kind of drums that are just electronic, and then you can have them in the room and nobody has to listen to you.
Yeah.
Can I imagine
Yeah.
if I bought real drums? My wife would be like, get out, go build a shed and go do it out there, drive the neighbors crazy. So tell me
Yeah, I
about,
was thinking about it. I was thinking about getting an electric set, but I
okay.
stay in an apartment. I have people under me, so I feel like
Oh,
me even hitting that foot pedal
oh yeah. That
consistently,
tap, tap,
they'll
tap.
still it'll drive me.
Yeah. That's sweet of you to be considerate to your neighbors, though. That you get gold stars for that. Yeah, absolutely. Because some folks would be like, whatever, brrr, yeah, just play away. But oh, here's to that though. Here's to percussion and drumming, because that, yeah. So like piano is, one flavor of music, but percussion and rhythm is a whole nother thing. And to me, it's another mindset. It's like learning to play the bass or something. You've got to be in a relationship with what are the other instruments that are doing the leads and some of the other voices that are phrases that are being expressed in the music. So yeah, that'd be great. I'll check in with you at some point and see where you are with percussion, because boy, that's something I would love to get into. Anyway, so to maybe close out music for just a second and then go back to woodwork before I forget. A question came up when you were talking, and so you were talking about like building furniture and doing art, but so I'm going to put that on like maybe a spectrum or a scale, and there's form and there's function, and of course in the middle you have something that's form and function. Do you dance back and forth between that? Do you like doing something strictly for the sculptural uh, beauty of it, and maybe it has less function, like you can't use it as a piece of furniture or an implement of some kind, and then over here you have things that are legit, like chairs and things like that. So do you dance around in that? And so share some of that with us, about your creative process and where you like to go.
Yeah, I feel like it really just depends on what I'm creating because I do wall art, I do different wooden art. That is strictly just form. So that's just art. I'm not really too concerned about the function of it. The closest function that I will have whenever creating art is just the dimensions on how large of a scale that I would create it on. But whenever I do furniture, I prioritize function a little bit over form, especially for bigger items that get used more vigorously. So chairs, tables, um, beds. I prioritize function a little bit more because you want something that's sturdy. You want
Mm-hmm.
something that the person's actually going to use, or that I'm actually going to use.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever coming in and designing something with both of those in mind, I would say I consider the function first. Well,
Okay.
no, because I would actually consider the form first because I get inspiration online. That's the first thing that I do.
Okay.
But then I guess I kind of go back and forth. So then I will consider the function on, okay, are the legs on the table assembled in a way that is going to prevent rocking? Or if you're vacuuming and you hit the leg on the table, is the table going to collapse? And stuff like that. And then I'll kind of go back to the form on how to have it sturdy and how to have it usable and the art. So I guess it's really not just like one specific method. It's just
Okay.
you kind of just go back, or I kind of just go back and forth. And but I do prioritize function a little bit more
Okay.
with furniture.
Okay. And so I guess maybe it would be context dependent. Like this project is going to be more about, I'm expressing a form here. I want something to be created for its own sake, for its artistic value. And then there's other, like maybe you get commissioned or somebody asks you to do something, and then you go, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to move down here, and then I'm going to be more about the functionality of it. Like again, a bed. I mean, you don't want to get too wild with beds. Yeah, you're going to have to sleep
Yeah,
on like a 17-degree angle, and yeah, it's going to be like
yeah,
a Craftmatic adjustable bed, where everybody's like doing all kinds of stuff. I'm getting
yeah,
I'm getting silly here, but yeah, I see what you're saying. I see that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, just built a bed like a week ago, or I finished building a bed like a week ago.
Wow.
It was a floating bed,
Ooh.
and like you don't want the base to be showing, and I messed up the dimensions a little bit with it, and it wasn't as sturdy as I wanted it to be.
Okay.
So I had to add like extra legs under it. And if you stand further away, like further back, you can kind of see the legs.
Okay.
So I guess that's something that I kind of had to uh what's the word? Kind of give up like the total form of it because I wanted it to look completely floating from any angle. So
Mm-hmm.
if you stand further back, like in a different room, then you could see some of the legs. But that's just to keep it sturdy because I don't want it to break over time.
Right. Yeah, yeah. No, you have to make compromises, I guess, in the
Yeah.
engineering and the physics. Yeah. Nature only allows so many things. So, but that's good that you're pushing that boundary and you're being innovative with that kind of creativity to do visual magic like that or visual and make impressions with people. I think that's really cool and fascinating that you can do that. In your being inspired by furniture or woodworking online, is there a style or a period of furniture that really jazzes you? I mean, I'll throw out like right now, well, I guess maybe the last 10, 15 years, mid-century modern stuff has been really popular. So like
Yeah.
scan furniture or things like that. Is there something that really gets you like in your creative zone when you see it?
Yeah, I would say, whenever I first started doing woodworking, definitely modern furniture was much easier to make than traditional furniture.
Okay.
Because with traditional furniture, there's more designs, and with modern furniture, like for instance, online, plywood is a very common type of wood. It's very easy to work with. You don't have to really worry about too much wood movement and stuff, and a lot of modern furniture is made out of plywood just due to its simplicity. And that's kind of how I got started. I will say now I'm very interested into, I don't really know what kind of design this would be called, but a lot more curvature in furniture. So let's say like you can have like a shelf that's like a rectangle, or you could have a shelf that is curved in design. I don't, would you consider that a specific um like type of art?
If it's I guess you'd have to try to then go and see if others are doing that, or maybe it's something unique to you. So I would say it's contingent on each of your creations, and maybe you could. Now, this would be an interesting app to develop. Is you create something, take a picture, and do the ID thing, and then so the like, especially with AI coming online on the internet, and it could do like a trillion search things for criteria for furniture photographs, and see what it pulls
Yeah.
up in terms of relevance. That may come online someday, and that would be interesting for you to do your own kind of metrics on that and say, well, what do I align with when what does this sort of, according to the bots, according to the algorithms, what does this kind of represent, or what are others doing that this is similar to that? So that's an interesting question. And I wouldn't know, other than to take a look at what you have and then maybe do my own kind of like crude cross-referencey thing where I go and search images and also do a primer on like what are furniture styles, what are the different types of chairs, because some of it comes down to a particular designer maybe, or a period. I was watching this architectural show today, and I'm going on a tangent here, so forgive me. But this architect was talking about where did diners come from, and it's actually Architectural Digest, if anybody wants to check it out. It's one of their latest releases. And he went on this crazy, wild story about like this mid-century architecture called Gucci, and it's not like the fashion house Gucci. It was Goochi, and it was interesting, kind of again, mid-century space age. Strange design. I won't even do it justice by trying to explain it. So to tie that back into what we're talking about, you may be looking at a period of time where, again, mid-century furniture or more modern furniture. So yeah, it's hard to say how you could, type it to that, type it to a particular species of design, or maybe. So I guess somebody who really knows this kind of thing would say, oh, you look like Francois Gordillon or something. I'm just pulling that out of my hat, but just some kind of designer, and you'll be like, oh, okay, and then go back and check that and be like, gosh, it really does look like. So that might be something interesting, like people who really take furniture aesthetics seriously, and or
Yeah.
just even chairs, or something specific. That would be neat. Yeah. So maybe as you emerge as an artist and as a creator, that your work will reach a level of relevance and popularity. I'm visioning this for you. I'm seeing such a beautiful future for you. And that's a question I'll have for you later. Like, how does this map onto your studies and your post-grad work that you're doing? We'll get to that later, though. But yeah, just
Okay.
if you go on this trip with me for a minute to think, like Rachel's got her line and she's doing her thing and she's cranking out some really interesting stuff, then it'll be interesting to see, like, if you could get into magazines and things like that. And then what they would say, well, Rachel's work is very similar to, Francois Gordillon or whoever, whatever weird name I just pulled out of nowhere. That would be interesting, I think, to see how you do get. It's almost like your music. Like if you compose something, somebody will say, oh, that reminds me of so-and-so, that the composition they did in 1986 or whatever. So yeah. That's the nice thing about art is, and sometimes it can be like, well, I don't look anything like that, or my work doesn't. What are you talking? It could go both ways, right? So, but
Yeah.
anyway, but it would be an interesting way to map yourself and to see where you are on the landscape with other creatives, other artists, other people who produce that which you produce. So maybe something to look forward to in the future. You'll see as you emerge and arise into prominence. Again, I'm visioning with you here. I'm seeing you
Thank you.
in your trajectory of success, that you'll reach that place. And oh, wouldn't that be exciting? That would be really cool. You're doing it for your love and the passion, but that to me is like icing on the cake, or however you want to call that. So but anyway, we'll ground ourselves back into the now moment, back into where we are in the present. Let me ask, let's see. There was something else you had wanted to talk about, and it relates to if you were to mentor someone who was, say, 16 years old, and they came to you and they said, Rachel, okay, you're older than me, and I want to learn from you. So what would you impart to them? And maybe let's say you committed to casually mentoring them for the next year or so to get them, let's say they hired you as a mentor and a teacher, and this is what you do, that you work with people, at least through your blogs and so forth. So I'll shut up and get you to answer the question. How would you begin with somebody? You've got a blank slate, curious 16-year-old, and they're like, hey, Rachel, I want to learn and I want to, or it could be a some old guy like me, and it's like, hey, Rachel, how do I learn? I haven't done any furniture, so I could ask you that question myself legitimately. So anyway, what would you do as a beginning steps and stages for that creative process?
I would start off with their like background and with what they enjoy, what they find like that brings them joy to life, or like day to day. I don't think it's gonna be like set in stone, like, or it's not gonna be super obvious on, oh, you like to ride bikes, so you can be like a biker. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like it may be a little bit more difficult to find. And with that, I would just tell them to just try anything and everything. Even if
Mm-hmm.
you don't think you're gonna like it, just still try it because you may find something that you really enjoy doing. And the reason why I say that is because whenever I first started going to school, I was a psychology and biology minor, or psychology major, biology minor.
Okay.
And I did a summer internship with it was like research with my school, and it was bioinformatics. I went in because I was like, okay, I like biology. That was the only one I could get, so I did bioinformatics. And with that I learned coding, and then I learned computer science, and I was like, oh, I really like this. I would have never thought of computer science as a major. And
Mm.
then the same thing with woodworking. I originally got into woodworking because I used to work at Lowe's, and I had a
Mm.
friend who was doing stuff, and I was like, oh, this seems pretty cool. I have a little jigsaw in the garage. I could try something. And then I found out that I liked it. And I mean, I feel like everything that I've done is not, if I was 15, 16, 18, I would have never guessed that it was going to be something that I like to do. Now, granted, growing up, I didn't really venture out and do much. So I probably could have came to this realization a little bit sooner if I did more in my youth years. But for someone who's 16, I'll say just whatever they could get their hands on, just do it. Clubs, activities. If they're going to college, as many clubs that they can, I guess, handle with school and work. And then you'll probably find something that you like to do. I personally think most people, they don't really stick to the plan that they have in like high school, even in college. And a lot of people change their majors, and sometimes it could be because of the workload, but a lot of the times it could be because someone found something else that they really enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, in all words. And then the same, it doesn't really matter like the age, 16, 46, 66. I would say the same thing.
Yeah, yeah. It occurred to me as I was saying that. I'm like, yeah, even like somebody like myself who has like zero uh, furniture building or woodworking experience, I would benefit in the same way that a 16-year-old would, um, just from that kind of advice. And also, so here's another theoretical scenario: if you had a shop and you were turning out units of furniture or units of art slash furniture, how would you apprentice somebody? Like if that either 53-year-old or the let's say 18 years old and they're out of high school, came to you and they wanted to apprentice, what would you think would be a good way to balance them enjoying something that they're doing as well as teaching them some fundamentals to woodworking so that they develop that firing and wiring kind of skills to, to whatever they call that, the memory set, where they're getting some practical skills. And I may be putting you in a corner here because you may not have done this or thought of this, but it's an interesting thought. Like if you had a shop, so this could relate to how you taught yourself. Like, what were the first few rudimentary things that you did, and what was good for you for trial and error in terms of your beginning?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, I've really never thought of this before, but what I would do is first, I would teach them the fundamentals, especially safety, number one. That's gonna come before anything else. I'll probably teach them little easy to do projects like, let's say, making a box, making doing like easier joinery, like pocket hole joints or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And and the reason why I say that is because not only do I want them to like get hands-on experience, so like let's say they want to make wood art, I could throw them into wood art, but then their art may not come out how they would expect it, and then I don't want them to get frustrated. So that's why I'll start off with the basics, even if it's not something that they would really want to do.
Okay.
And then I would kind of branch off into what they desire. um, I just lost my train of thought. I was gonna say something. Uh,
Okay. Well, you're the teacher to the apprentice, and you're
mhm.
bringing them along. And you said you'd start out with some kind of rudimentary thing that may give them some memory, muscle memory or whatever for geometry and getting things to fit,
Yeah.
and look good. Like, so there's basic art that you don't that you want to encourage them to be curious, and then there's the
Mhm.
functionality of geometry and your cutting skills and maybe lathing skills or whatever it is that you're working with. If that helps
Yeah.
you re-rail yourself.
Yeah, it kind of did. And
Okay.
and and the reason why, so after you get like the fundamentals down, then I would really just tailor the program to them,
Okay.
because a lot of the programs that are online, they're just generic programs. A lot of woodworking schools, they have like a very strict curriculum. So you would basically have to learn about furniture building. You would have to learn about, let's say, wood turning, if you take a few classes on wood turning, and the person may not be interested in that. So if they come to me like as an apprentice to give them something different than if they were to just go take a courses, that I will make it a little bit more tailored towards them. Now it would have to be something that I also know. But I mean, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure we'll probably discuss that before I would even take them on as an apprentice. But yeah, just tailor it to them. I personally wouldn't teach them stuff that they're not really interested in. Now,
Yeah.
if it's a topic that they're not really interested in, but if they need to know the skills to do what they want to do, then of course I'll teach them that. But I wouldn't derail them from what they want to do.
Okay. Okay. And we brought up lathing and turning. Do you work with that a lot yourself? Is that part of what your creative process is?
Not really. I'm actually pretty interested in it. I haven't really got into it yet because I haven't like saved up enough money to get that specific
Oh,
tool.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
All the
I
other
would
stuff.
imagine. Yeah, I would imagine. I've seen some amazing turning videos on YouTube. You were talking about like you will get your inspiration from that. And hats off to those guys that do that, and gals and persons that do that, because oh my gosh, it's just amazing. They'll get this nasty, gnarly old piece of trunk or some kind of
Yeah.
wood that's just all crazy looking. And next thing you know, well, not next thing you know, but thanks to the power of video editing, they turn out this thing that's just like a vase or some kind of other whatever it is they turn. Oh my gosh. I'm like, wow, that's so
Yeah,
cool.
that's my goal.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
That's
it's a laudable goal because you can really do some beautiful creations with those things. Yeah, yeah, here's to that. So when we met, and you had sent over some things that you wanted to talk about, you had mentioned about things about work-life balance and burning yourself out, and you are a post-grad now. You have a passion for woodworking and you're helping people with music lessons. So tell us about, and this might be where like you're in a particular age bracket, and so I want to hear from you as that person in that age bracket, because like I said, you're in school and you're also teaching and you're also being a creative. So talk to me about that so that the members of the audience that are in your age range can connect with you on this and share with, and it's good for everybody. It's just like teaching art. I mean, I can learn from you for this too, but I'm really I want to connect with, say, under 30 and help them. So I'll hush
yeah.
and you share.
Yeah, I would say with work-life balance, it definitely depends on like you as a person. Like for instance, someone could say, "Oh, you could work 40 hours a week and then do a part-time gig for 25 hours a week and you should be able to handle that." But not everyone can handle that, and it's just based off of preference. It's based off of what you know that you can handle. I don't ever want to, because I do a lot, but most people, I'll say well, for me, honestly, I don't think I'm the perfect person to ask for this because in the past few years, or I would say like 2, 3 years ago, I definitely took on more than I could handle.
Mm,
And now I know what I can handle. The stuff that I'm doing, I'm really interested in. Like I only do piano lessons 1 day a week,
okay.
but I really enjoy playing the piano. I only do woodworking. Honestly, right now I only do woodworking for myself. I just moved, so I had a lot of stuff that I did. But other than that, I write blogs, but I kind of do it in my free time. I balance what I do. For me, it's not that bad because I really enjoy woodworking and I really enjoy teaching the piano lessons. Schooling is schooling, you kind of just have to get through it. I do enjoy my major, but you have
Mm,
assignments, deadlines. It is what it is.
yeah.
And I work full time. Now with that, it is a lot, but I kind of just balance the stuff that I enjoy doing. I do a lot. I don't want to say anything like, oh, you have to be able to do this and keep a full-time job because I do see that on social media quite often. Like I see people that say, "Oh, you should work full time, and then you should try to start your own business and do that part time." And then some people have families, some people have other obligations. I don't really have that, so I can put more time into other things. But I would say to really listen to your body and listen to yourself. For me, a few years ago, I was pulling my hair out, and I actually had a pretty good bald spot in my hair,
Mm,
and then I would bite my nails. My anxiety went up. So definitely listen to your body. Definitely don't try to take on more than what you're comfortable with. Um, and then also try to like find stuff that you really enjoy. I would say kind of like with like quality of life. With a job, some people work jobs that they really enjoy. Some people work jobs that they don't really enjoy. But I would say with hobbies and with what you do in your free time, just try to really find something, even if it's a few hours a week,
okay.
or maybe an hour a day, to like try to find something that you look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But definitely just like listen to what your body's telling you.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's great. And so when I'm visualizing what you've just talked about with what you do, some of what you're doing is things that you're invested in emotionally and getting satisfaction from it. And I think that helps. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but like that seems to me like that helps you manage. So you have a full-time job, you're a student, and then you do these other things as well. But you love what you do as a student, and you have your music and the woodworking and the woodcraft, and those are things that are close to your heart. And then, of course, job's a job, but that you seemed, so I'll get to this point. You seem to have found a thing for yourself, a system or a nexus for yourself, a way of managing it all. And
Mhm.
you mentioned that you were a little burned out, stressed out, and you recognize that, which I think is really important. I think you hit on something very important there. And thank you for sharing that, because some folks maybe get tied up in that. And like you said, social media can put pressure on us. It's like, oh, if you're not working 65 hours a week or, doing this and that. And I was a workaholic when I was younger, and I finally got smart after pounding, out the hours because when I was like young, I worked 7 days a week. I didn't even take days off because I didn't have much of a social life. And, I wasn't a high paying job, and I had other hustles and stuff on the side. So I just worked, I worked. And then as I got older, I just found other things that were more interesting and more important to me, like relationships and things like that. So I learned to moderate, but I wasn't swift enough I just, just went right in there like a horse that'll just keep drinking until it dies or something. I just didn't have any sense. I'm like, oh, what the heck? I'll just work 7 days a week. I can sleep. That's my time off. So, so I wouldn't recommend that to people because it might have health implications or at least emotional implications. So anyway, related to that, you had also touched on setting healthy expectations for that which you aspire to, for that which you find to be your calling. And so let's, if you want, talk about that and managing outside of the burnout factor, managing how you judge yourself for what you do. So like engaging with art or engaging in your studies. Share a little of that, if you will, please.
Oh, so you mean with work-life balance?
Yeah, the work-life balance, and then setting, I think you mentioned like realistic goals and expectations for
Yeah.
yourself. So again, if it's your if it's your hobby, if it's your outlet, don't torture yourself by saying, well, if I'm not, the greatest artist or I'm the greatest musician, I'll never be satisfied. So that kind of setting
Yeah.
the boundaries for what's healthy for you in terms of how you relate to your passions and your work and things like that.
Okay. Yeah, for me, the way I kind of set boundaries for myself is with playing the piano. I really play the piano for myself. I used to, whenever I was younger, I used to take piano lessons and do competitions and all that stuff, which was
Mm,
it was fun. I enjoyed it. But now I just find music that I like to learn, music that I like to listen to, and it's not. I think that's one of the reasons why I haven't really did anything online because I didn't want to make that like a job to where it's like okay, I have to meet the expectations of like
mm,
other I mean, which isn't a bad thing, but it's just something that I just do in my free time. I enjoy it. So if I mess up a song while I'm playing, I just mess up a song while I'm playing.
yeah.
I now I do have like inner expectations on, oh, I want to be able to play this song. Oh, I want to be able to get to this level if I see someone on YouTube. But if I don't do that, sometimes those expectations are a little unrealistic. But if I don't do that, it's not. I don't beat myself up about it. As long as I am playing music that I like to play and doing what I love to do, I kind of have just accepted like, okay, I can play the piano. I play it good to my standards, so I'm content. I feel like being content is like it's kind of difficult for people to for everyone to like accept or yeah I'll say accept because whenever you get to a level it's well in America is oh you can always be better, you should always strive to be better in whatever you do. Always strive to make more money. Always strive to do whatever. And once I just had to say, okay, there are people who are better than me. I can become better if I really grind, if I really play the piano 20 hours a day,
Mm,
25 a day. But I'm content and I'm good where I'm at. And it's just setting that boundary. With woodworking, it's a little bit different because I do have the blog. But one of the things that I did to kind of set the realistic expectation with woodworking is well, I'm not really too good with this either because I still set unrealistic expectations all the time.
uh-oh.
Yeah, I do. I really do. Especially with the
Confessions.
recent move.
Yeah.
Especially with the recent move, I wanted to build furniture and I was like, okay, I'm gonna grind and do it all within a month. That was out the window within the first
Oh,
like 3 weeks. I was like, yeah,
okay.
I'm not gonna get it done at this time. But um with that is just knowing that what I do is whenever I plan, I set time. Okay, this will take me 2 hours to do. This will take me 3 hours to do, and I'm a little bit more optimistic than I should be a lot of the time. Um, Another thing with expectations for time constraints is I like to set 30 minute to 1 hour blocks. Well, because for me, I'm always optimistic, so I always take longer than I think that I'm gonna take. So I take 30 minutes to 1 hour blocks in between my in between my tasks because I'm gonna go over. So it kind of cushions me a little bit. With skill, I am trying to become better with woodworking. I am learning more things. With that is a little bit different than piano playing because I've only been woodworking for a few years. I've been playing the piano for 13, 14 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a little bit more content with my piano playing. With my woodworking, it's just so much out there that I can still do.
Okay.
But with setting, but with being, when being realistic with myself, my biggest issue is just time constraints. I'm always very optimistic in how long it will take me to do something. But with like skill and design, um I just know that it's gonna take me multiple times to try something before I get it perfect. So if I'm trying a new joinery, if I'm trying to build a new furniture item that I've never built before, it's probably gonna take me 3 or 4 times. And it's just accepting that and not beating yourself up about it, not trying to push yourself harder than you need to, and just keep on trying. I mean, we're human. It's a lot of people like to criticize,
Mm-hmm.
or they have compare each other or compare themselves to other people, but everyone's human. Just accept it.
Yeah, such wise words. And I love that you said that you're by nature a positive person, and I think that will steer you, I think, to have that, I don't want to say fearlessness, but that confidence to take risks, to take chances, to not be afraid of whatever, because we can sit and try to predict things, that might go wrong if we had the audacity to do something different or new. And so I love that you are positive by nature, that you can do that. And that can be infectious, I think, if you have friends or like, again, apprentices or people working with you, that, that positive attitude uh, can really have an impact on other people. Because I think some of us are like right on the teetering edge. I mean, some people can be, like always like afraid or, intimidated by things. But I think that positive attitude is so essential, I think, in a creative process. To me, it drives curiosity. It drives the next imaginal step that's going on, that can emerge a little more quickly, perhaps, like through the mind, if you will, like it just presents it, or it just seems more apparent, like you can see it better. I don't know, I'm riffing here, but maybe that's really been a star in your crown to help you be that. And gosh knows, music is so beautiful and so creative, and you've got 13 or 14 years of history. That's probably what helped nurture it along, maybe. And so I'll stop there because I'm guessing at a lot of things here, but I'm just listening to you and I'm like, oh yeah, maybe, that's between your positivity and your love and passion for music, and then for wood arts and woodworking. What do you think about that?
I think that's pretty accurate. That's pretty spot
Okay.
on, in my
Okay.
opinion.
Okay,
The
good.
music, maybe. I haven't really thought of it like that, honestly.
Okay. Have you ever been audacious enough to daydream about maybe working a club for music and showing up and kicking the old piano around in front of maybe 30 or 40 people? Would that be something you'd be like, or would you be like, that's a next step, that's another level I could move to in my, and just do it for kicks, like just to say that Rachel did this, and she got in front of a crowd, and everybody liked it. It turned out really good. Yeah.
Yes, sometimes I have played the piano in like a mall before.
Oh,
I've
okay.
done that. I used to go to competition, so
Oh gosh.
that
Yeah.
was pretty that was pretty easy. But I
That's
was I was younger when I did that.
okay.
Um, as a piano teacher, I do recitals.
Uh,
I'll play in front of like the students and the parents. Well, the students will play, and then at the very end, I'll play a song.
okay.
But going on like I have daydreamed about like going on like stage, like going to like Italy or somewhere.
Ooh, yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of optimistic,
Yeah.
honestly.
That tests the optimist in you and says,
Yeah.
you want to do it, and prove it to yourself, or break
Yeah,
through that envelope. Yeah.
honestly, if I if I did do something like that, I'll probably have to drop something because I
Mm,
would have to be practicing 20, 30 people who do that. That's their full-time job right there.
yeah, yeah. Well, I was more imagining like just like in a lot of towns you'll have like improv night or open mic night, and
Oh,
Rachel just walks up to the stage and there's the piano and boom, there's the audience going, "Oh wow, who is she? She's really good. She's banging out the good tunes." So yeah, no, I get what you're saying though. Like if you were to do it and really want to commit to it, yeah, that's like you said, you would have save that for. So when you get closer to my age, there's that renaissance period in people's lives, and like some people start families and then they get the kids out of the house, and other people just work because they need to save for retirement. And that's kind of where I am, is like I'm getting into that space where I kind of worked really hard, like I said, 7 days a week, and tried to save up money. But now I have time to go do creative, like these things I do with interviews and stuff. And I volunteer a bunch of different places, and well, not a bunch, a couple of different places. And so I'm in my renaissance now where I'm trying to get back and I'm trying to take different paths and do things. So maybe that's a stage in your life when you get the career or whatever it is that your path, wherever your path takes you, that may be a seed you could plant for now and say that the Rachel in 25 or 30 years is going to go and do that practicing and get on stage. I mean, who knows where life's going to take you, but that's just a thought. It's just a thought. Maybe you could do that and love it, because I think you would. I mean, if you're an outgoing person, you're not from our conversation, you seem to have the constituency or the parts in you that would allow that to happen, and you wouldn't bother you in the least to get up and do that. Like you said, you've done recitals and competitions. I mean, if you can do that, then you can get into a bar or a club or a hall or something and play, and just people will be like, "Oh, wow, that's so cool." Oh, now let me ask you, since I keep pulling you into the future, and if that's tedious, I apologize. So, what
that's
do,
fine.
yeah, what do you imagine? This is a little more practical, but it is future forward thinking. So you're doing computer science academically, and now you're also music and woodworking, which is your sort of artistic side. Where What would you like for yourself? Say once you get out, if you get your master's or if you go on to do a PhD, what would you like to do career-wise with that? Or would you just be that positive and that self-confident that you would get that degree and then say, I'm going to go do woodworking, or I'm going to go be an artist or a musician? I mean, what do you think, given where you are now in your life, what do you think the future would be for you?
Um, the full-time job that I have is within computer science.
Okay.
Full-time, like career-wise, I do enjoy computer science, so it's probably going to be with that. I
Okay.
think with woodworking and piano playing and like other forms of art, that's just going to be kind of like a hobby. With
Hmm.
woodworking, I tried to start a business with that, but whenever you do, I I like woodworking as a hobby and in my free time. Once you take on more and more clients, and that's what you have deadlines, you have to finish stuff at a certain time, and you have like customer service and other stuff you had to deal with. I didn't really particularly like that. With piano, I feel like I probably could do that full time as a career. I don't think I would. I don't think I'm gonna do that right out of college. Like you said, I may do it whenever I get older,
Hmm.
and like in that Renaissance. Was that what you said? Was it
Yeah,
Renaissance?
yeah. It's
Yeah.
sometimes they say that it's a nice word for middle age. Like, I've worked 30 years and now I'm gonna, take it a little easy, and because I think what happens when people get over 45 to 50 years of age, it probably happens. They call it a midlife crisis sometimes, but you get this kind of reminder that you're past the halfway point, statistically, and so that you're not counting up anymore. You're counting down to when it's time for you to pass on. And so that's they call it memento mori. It's like the reminder that death is there. I mean, I'm being really brutal, but it's like that really is a reality for people. And again, it could start as young as the early to mid 40s, or it could be I've never really crossed that threshold. As like, I think about it, but it's not a deep, existential thing for me. I just know that at 53, I'm past midlife. I'm not going to live to 106. If I did, maybe that would be nice. I don't know. But as long as my brain and body aren't like completely shot. But yeah, so if I live to my mid to late 80s or early 90s, that would be really neat. But that's less than half. So you see that kind of imminence in your future, your whatever it is, your scope. And so I think that's where a lot of people start placing different priorities and values on life, and they say, I've done all this behind me, and now what can I do? How can I be that artist? How can I be that creative person? Or how can I give back to the community? So it manifests differently for different people. And I think there's no wrong in any of that as long as it's positive and creative. So that's, again, I think where music, and you can come back and meet back with that old friend of yours, that old talent, and well, you're going to keep it going your whole life, but then you can bring it back out into the foreground and just say, hey, when Rachel's 52 or 53 years old, I had my career in computer science, and now I want to express myself differently. And I have that luxury because, I'm sure you're going to have a career that will take care of you and benefit you. And you strike me as a very bright, put together human being. And so you're going to take care of yourself and your career trajectory, et cetera, et cetera. So in other words, you won't be living hand to mouth at 53 years of age. You won't be like, where's my next rent check coming from? Or, how do I pay my mortgage or whatever it is? I think I can kind of guess that you're going to be, good in that regard. So that gives you that space and that freedom and that capacity to do whatever you want. You can scale back your computer career, computer science, or you can leave it all together and say, I've got good retirement accounts set up, my home's paid for, yada, yada, yada. And then I can go do that. So that's kind of, I joke that old people are messengers from the future. So at your age, I'm telling you, I'm like, this is kind of what happens in your 50s. And maybe if you remember, you'd be like, oh yeah, that guy Justin, I remember talking to him years ago, and he kind of got it, so who knows what'll happen. But yeah, I think that's what a lot of folks go through, is they get to that reflection point in their life and they're like, okay, what can I do? So, but in the meantime, so computer science, can you share, like, do you want to get into the big AI thing that's going on, or what is there a specialization that a niche that you want to fall into with that?
Yeah, since I just graduated, I'm pretty open with computer science. My concentration undergrad was software engineering. For grad school, it's like I think the concentration is network systems, something else. It's basically like an umbrella term for networks and computer science. I am actually pretty interested in AI.
Okay.
I just took my first like real machine learning course. It was brutal, but with machine learning, I'm pretty interested in it. I do feel like there probably is going to need to be some like regulation so that people don't abuse it.
Mm-hmm.
Because with anything, I mean, people they're still going to do what they want, but at least to try to keep it from really being abused. Like for instance, within cybersecurity, there's been AI. It's basically AI wars with cybersecurity. People use AI and bots to hack, and then in cybersecurity, you use AI to try to catch the AI, and then it's like
Mm.
one over the other at all times. Um, do you have any like questions with 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 AI or computer science in general?
Well, if we opened up the subject of AI, and I agree with you that there there are going to be it's a cost benefit scenario. There's going to be pros and cons, and I am concerned about the cons. I don't go as far as the complete apocalyptic kind of like, singularity will be our extinction kind of scenarios. I think that's a lot of hyperbole. It's possible. I mean, if we allow it, here's the thing that I just think, we are in a consensual relationship with this stuff. But we've entrusted a certain echelon or a certain segment of the population to be the creators of this kind of technology, application, and implementation, et cetera, et cetera. So I am a little concerned, but I think it's, as you said, it's almost like an arms race. So if we don't do things, China will do things, or another country will do things. And so we're all under this kind of pressure. And it was like that during the Cold War, where, you know, you had to build more nukes because somebody else had nukes. And well, guess what nukes do? You know, they everything goes extinct, you know. So we've been here before. But that was, again, going back to what I was saying with your creativity. You're doing kind of analog in a digital world when you're manipulating wood and real medium as opposed to abstract medium like computers and what's in the cyberspace and things like that. So I would say yay to AI, and it's going to do some problem solving things for us. I think there'll be a lot of benefits. But like you said, I completely agree that I watched some people who do game theory, and they have this thing. It's kind of, they talk about it's a Hebrew, I don't know if it's a demon or something, but if you want something in life, you have to pay Moloch the price for what it is you want, the benefits that you want. Moloch demands a price from you. And so you can, it's Molloch, I think is the name of the character. But it demands a sacrifice for that thing that it gives you, that good thing that it gives you. And that's where I think the cost benefit could be really dicey. So I'll turn it back to you and say, what, you know, from your position, from where you are, and you certainly are a little more dialed in, especially you're taking courses in it. If you want to drill down more on the concerns for societal impact for media and social, you know, like deep fakes and hacks and things like that. Yeah, if you want to share some of that.
Okay. I know in the media and on in media, news, social media, a lot of people are really freaking out about AI. They're like, oh, you can't trust anything. I mean, you can make someone's voice through AI, which I mean, I think that could be a problem in the future.
Yeah, yeah.
But a lot of people are really scared about it right now. One thing is AI is advanced, but it's not that advanced right now. So I feel like we do have time to like really prevent people from using AI maliciously.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I say prevent, I mean it can be a little bit difficult. Even if you regulate it, people still are gonna try to find a way to do what they want. But at least there is some form of like regulation. But we do have some time. A with one of the issues with AI as of right now is data cleaning. There's like the saying, you pit trash in, you get trash out.
Mm.
So AI, a lot of the times they get their data from humans,
Mm-hmm.
from the human user, and a lot of the time that data may not be accurate. The data may not be a good representation of like the population or of the community, depending on where it comes from, and that causes issues within AI because whatever you give it is gonna come out. So if you train AI on bad data, you're gonna get a bad AI. That's one of the issues. I'm not sure where other countries stand with that, but I know that's something that I'm not sure how long it's gonna take for it. But
Mm-hmm.
basically, all that I'm saying is a lot of people they think the end of the world may be next month, or they think that they're very maybe that's just me being optimistic, but I don't think we're there yet with the AI. I did see something. It was oh, man, I forgot what it was called. It was called because it's Chat GPT, but there
Mm-hmm.
was another thing that I guess someone tried to make where they try to build an AI to like take over like humanity or whatever. It was something
Okay.
online. um I'm not sure what happened with that. I think they stopped that. But I personally don't think AI is that powerful yet.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. There is a lot of work that people don't understand that AI needs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I've read what you were addressing a moment ago about junk in, junk out. Like I know guys, I don't use Twitter as much as I used to, but there are people on Twitter that I follow who are academics, and so they have PhDs and all this kind of stuff, and they'll ask really complicated questions like they would to their students, and they'll get the chat GPT or the large language model to give them the answer. And you can see some of the garbage that gets swept up in, because it's just scanning the internet. And like you said,
Yeah.
there's good, there's signal, and there's noise, and so it brings some of the noise into the answer. And so somebody who's that level of academia can say, okay, so now I'm going to point out to you the garbage here, that it sounds really good. It's, so, some people call it deepity, right? It sounds really good, but it's just nonsense, or some of it's nonsense. Some of it, there's a little good stuff baked into it. So I agree. Yeah, that, and I guess as it learns to be adaptive, that it will be able to better filter that and get response, maybe from a human input or also from its own way of self-regulating, which I wouldn't have a clue. Now, the one thing I will bring up it's not a huge concern of mine, but I think if this becomes a normative, if it becomes part of our social fabric, our cultural fabric, that we are engaged as average citizens with AI systems, components, and apps and things like that, that one thing that concerns me is that will we develop relationships with the interface that is human to non-human? And what does that look like psychologically, psycho-emotionally, psychosocially? What are we doing with our human vulnerability and strength of being social creatures? And so I'll use it for instance, like if Justin, now I happen to be married, I happen to have a partner, I happen to have a decent social life, but if I was living alone, I was lonely, prone to depression, prone to being sad, not getting the human contact that I need, and then along comes this AI system that is composed of something that looks like a person, could be a female, male, or other, but I'm attracted to it, and I start forming a relationship with it. And how far do I get drawn into that, and what does that do to my psyche? And it's not that I'm saying that this could have a bad outcome, but I'm wondering how that changes the social fabric of humanity, and how that extra dimension of relationship. So I relate to you as my companion guest for this interview. I relate to friends of mine, or I relate to others in the world. You're a fleshy person, at least as far as I know. You're not a bot. I don't think you are. AI is not that good. But so I know Rachel's a person, and you and I are having a good conversation. We're developing something here that will be released as a recording to the world. And so I have, again, friends, etc. Not a lot, but I do have friends. And so there's that. And I have people that I work with, and I get that social interaction, and I get my whatever it is that we humans do through that. Now, again, you're adding a third element in there, perhaps, or another element of a machine that is now relating to you, and it will tell you, like you were saying, junk in, junk out. It'll tell you things you want to hear. Like if it was set up to be a companion bot, and it's there to keep you from being lonely. I'm curious to know, and it's not like I'm applying a caveat to it, or it's a cautionary tale. It's more, I see good and bad in that too. I see people who are isolated, and maybe, senior citizens or whatever, that benefit from that, or others that get just really absorbed into it. And so it's like, kind of matrixy kind of thing, the philosopher that inspired the movie The Matrix was talking about these kind of things, that there was the simulacra, the simulation, and the hyper reality. And that's always impressed me. And he was talking about reality television 30 something years ago when he was talking about it. But this is something that's onboarding with AI, is that we're going to develop relationships with machines. So, what does that look like? And I have no judgment. I can't tell.
Yeah, actually, with that, I would say the closest thing that we have to that now is virtual reality.
Yeah.
So like VR headsets.
I've got that behind me on that computer there. I've got
Yeah.
Oculus. Yeah. Yeah. So.
Yeah, right now, I don't really think someone can really escape reality. Well, I'll say with what you said with the friendships and the relationships, I feel like when AI gets that good to where you can have like system that has natural language um processing, and where it's like an actual human. 'Cause with AI right now, or at least the AI that I've been using, like Alexa and Siri, there's like a small disconnect between the two. But whenever AI does become that good, it probably will. I can definitely see people getting like sucked into that. Um, I'm not sure. I know preferably you would want to have human interaction, real human conversation. I feel like if it's someone who, let's say, like an elderly person, that doesn't really have family, it may be better than not really having anyone around at all.
Mm-hmm.
Um, with virtual reality, which is slightly different, I feel like people can get sucked into that whenever it becomes really good to where it is like an actual reality.
Mm-hmm.
Right now with virtual reality, you can kind of, or at least I can kind of tell that it's not real. But whenever it becomes a little bit more difficult to tell reality from virtual reality, I think it could become an issue with people wanting to stay like in that virtual world. That's why a lot of people do drugs,
Mm-hmm.
like marijuana and like other drugs, is because they kind of escape that reality. I feel like with virtual reality, it's just going to be another outlet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm not sure how long that will be. I'm not sure how severe it's gonna be, but there is it can lead to an issue later on, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. So now I guess there are safeguards that can be put into place, and maybe if you do engage with this kind of interface and this relationship, that um, maybe there are safeguards built in. You know, things that, and they could even be bots themselves that check in and say, now just remember, you know, Susie is, or John, or you know, whomever is, you know, just it's an algorithm, it's a string of information, and so just, you know, and I don't know, I mean, I don't know anything, so I would just, that would be my thing that would make me sleep better at night, is to know, for good and for bad, that, you know, we all just, you know, check in, and you know, also know that the person to person communication is good. You know, there's the old fashioned way is still really good. Yeah, you know, just being in communion with other people, forming those relationships is good. And again, like you said, for somebody who is, because this happens a lot in the elder years, when people are over 75 or 80 years of age, and they're, you know, kids are all gone, or a lot of their friends have died off. You know, that might be a really good place. It's almost like a stronger medical intervention when somebody's dealing with an illness, that it's like, okay, you're at this stage of this thing, and you know, it's okay to do something that may have a little bit more risk involved, but it will give you a better quality of life. You know, so those kind of ethical decisions will hopefully be managed well. That's all I would ask, is that it's managed well, and that also that 15-year-olds and, you know, up to 20-year-olds don't get sucked into the vortex, and they don't find that to be a more suitable reality. Like you said, like they're getting high all the time, and they're not really focused on real life and being grounded and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, yeah. So I'm like you. I'm optimistic in a sense, because I know this will do some big crunching stuff for us. Like, I'm looking forward to medical advancements coming out of it, and also maybe some good for the community, the global community, you know, that we can learn faster, learn more, yada yada. So I will look at the bright side of it and just see what happens. And like, I agree with you that it is not this behemoth yet. It's not this mega force kind of thing that can, you know, just vaporize us all and we're gone. You know, you know, and let's hope it doesn't ever get to that. I would hope that that the tech nerds and the technotopists are somewhat grounded in that sense, that, you know, when they vision the brighter future utopia for humanity, or whatever it is that their thought models are, that they're well intended and governed. So if they have those two things going for them, great. You know, and I suspect in China they're doing the same thing. They just want the best product possible. They want the best value and best use, and maybe their ethical lens is just a little bit different, but I don't suspect it's nefarious. You know, I mean, there's cyber war and there's all that kind of crap that the governments do, but for the population at large, I hope that that's where they're coming from. So, believe it or not, we've been on our conversation for about an hour and 20 mintes. It's just
Yeah.
flown by. I think we need to have you back sometime if you're up for it. And
Okay, sure.
we could pick up from here, because you were a psych. Was that your under or your second? You did
Second major.
biology. Yeah, so but you did do some psych, and so yeah, we could carry this conversation forward, and I would like that because I've really enjoyed talking with you, and I knew I would. I knew we would have a good conversation from our pre-meet. But yeah, I want to cut it off now so that it's short enough that because we could go 2 hours, but sometimes people don't, and including me, I may not have the staying power for that or the wherewithal. So we'll do that now. We'll cut it like an hour and 20, and then maybe I could have you back in the fall or sometime when you're feeling it, if you want, you can reach out, or I'll just check in with you maybe in September or something, and we'll bring you back and keep going. And yeah, I will, because I want to learn from you, and I want to get more of your insights from not just AI, but the future of coding and the future of software development and things like that.
Yeah.
What you're
And
learning
then,
and
and
what.
then with that, and then with that, I will also have like more experience with AI.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I mean,
yeah.
I don't really know that much, but I did take two classes in it. So
Okay, okay. Yeah, let's get that some of that time to pass too, so that you've onboarded some information and you can share it with us. Because again, I think that would be a fun conversation. But Rachel, we've had a really good conversation. I've really appreciated it. I know it's when it hits the YouTube land and it gets out there and it's people are picking it up, that I think it will be a nice benefit to people. Now, I will have all your socials down below and all your links so that
okay,
people can find you and people can access what you're doing, your blog. And down the road, you're going to have like music maybe or other things that you'll share with the world, what you're comfortable with. But whatever you do have, we'll weave it into this video, this release, as well as perhaps something either late this year or early next year. We can get some, if you have some new stuff coming on board, we'll make sure that that's included. But I do want to thank you, though. I think this was a really neat conversation, and I've learned from you, and I know, like I said, this will be beneficial for people, what we've
yeah,
talked
thank you
about.
so much. Yeah, it was nice. It was nice meeting you and
Yeah,
talking to you about
yeah.
everything.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. It was a good, sincere conversation, and it flowed well. And so I hopefully the audience, and to the YouTube audience, thank those of you who are still here. Thank you so much. Much love to you guys for always sticking around. I look at my statistics, and it usually goes down to about 10% towards the end, especially like up to about an hour and a half. It's always about 10%. So to that 10% crowd, thank you guys so much. Rachel, I'll say goodbye to you after we stop record, but to the YouTube audience, once again, thanks, and we'll see you on the next conversation. So take care.